All right, everyone, welcome, welcome. I'm actually going to go on speaker view at the moment. And today our topic is how to declutter your life, which is kind of a big topic, actually, when you think about it. I wasn't just saying declutter your home, but to declutter our lives. And I would say that this is one of the most interesting and passionate things that I do in my world, in my life. I'm always kind of psychologically, becoming more aware of how I'm reacting to things, reacting to stimulus. So this gets a little bit into the major work that I've always done, which is the Alexander technique. And today I'd like to weave in a few of the Alexander concepts about body-mind balance and how that applies to spring cleaning, how that applies to decluttering ourselves in our lives. But I want to start with a quote today. And it's something that I just came upon this morning, which I thought was so beautiful. This is by Howard Thurman. He said, "There's something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. It is the only true guide you will ever have. And if you cannot hear it, you will all your life spend your days on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls." So this is kind of a wake-up call and saying, are we genuinely living in our own being? So I would like to share that the context that I have here today about simplifying and decluttering your life is really about creativity too. And as we know, creativity is messy. So if you're just putting a big quilting project, for example, right, Bonnie, on the floor with all the different materials on it, who knows when we're going to be able to complete that project. So it may, we may start something and we don't really always get to it because of time and how life infringes upon us. So it'll just sit there. And for some of us, it'll sit there for a long time. So this has to do with that world of productivity. But I wanted to put it in context for us today to say, we want life to be messy. We want those creative projects to come forward and really, own us for a while, to really take us to that next place and that next level in terms of manifesting our desires. Creativity is an expression of our artistic natures, and all humans really need that. So I'm going to read another little passage that comes from a book by James Hillman. And I've been musing about what I wanted to share in this class. And I just read this book this week. It's actually a very old book called Interviews. Somebody was interviewing James Hillman. If you don't know who he is, he kind of redefined psychology and depth psychology. He came out of the Carl Jung Institute way back in the 40s. And he really asked the question about what the openings can be for your imagination and your vision. So having psychopathology, for example, is, the labels that we have on somebody's, who they are. For example, schizophrenia. In the olden days, there was a real emphasis on, psychopathology and schizophrenia. Well, guess what? That doesn't lead that person to have a creative life and to be speaking archetypally to those energies and to learn and grow and develop themselves based on that. As a matter of fact, that whole time was all about medicine and, numbing people down. And we don't want to numb. And that's what this workshop is going to be about, is really, finding out where our resistance is and undoing that kind of numbing. So here's what he said about creativity and messiness in this book. So he's James Hillman. I type and I use scissors and paste and I run around my room looking things up. I have books and papers and notes, a huge table and everything all over the place. As soon as I've begun to work on something, I make a mess of it. And more disorder and more activity, making order out of it. But the physical activity is a joy, and so is the disorder. I drink tea. I go downstairs and make a new cup of tea and forget to take the old cup down. So there are 2 cups all around on top of everything else. But with all this disorder, my mind is placed in the room, laid out there on the table. And that's why I can't clean the room up until the work is over. To lose a piece of it would be to lose my mind. I just love that. And, bringing our artistic nature into everything that we do, whether it's, the focus of your life's work, a technique that you've learned or a energy bodywork form that you've learned, or an art project, a piece of music that you're working on the piano, or a dance that you're choreographing. It'll never get done if we don't allow for that chaos in the middle. But what we're wishing for is to be able to bring awareness to that project as well. And that's where the productivity starts to move us and move through. So what I'm suggesting is that housework, so to speak, or spring cleaning, which is the theme of our workshop today, is actually soul work. And how we manage that and how we come to that is really everything to do with developing more creativity and more imagination and more grace and more beauty in our lives. So the desire that we have is to do everything with more awareness, grace, and beauty. So we have to actually then ask the question, what is not working for me? Why, what happens when things get stuck or I get stuck? And this is where the energetics start to play in, and how you can, I'm not going to just say get in control of those energies, but use them for your good, for your process, and for your creativity. So our desire is to create spaciousness within the space itself. In other words, we are inviting sacred space. We're inviting a sense of awareness and the sacred to come more to us. And we really are wishing for manifestation, for the creation to come forward. So it's really a balance of both of those. And in saying that, we all hold within ourselves a form of a balance between our own inner masculine and our own inner feminine. And archetypally, the masculine is much more about intention and focus and, like, just do it, the Nike, just do it. And the feminine is really about letting be, letting go, surrendering, letting the flow come there to you. So when in the act of cleaning up, in the sacred act of cleaning up, or the sacred act of creating, we really want to be able to hold that balance between the masculine and the feminine, and let certain of those energies play out, really. So, if you really want to finish and get something done and take action, that's like bringing all that good, healthy, grounded masculine energy to the fore. But if you really are not quite there yet, And you really want to allow for the dreamer to come, that you're interacting with some of those deeper, the messy part that we were talking about before, the messy part of creativity. Let that time be there too. And we have to listen very carefully to what our bodies are telling us, and what is really available to us to do. And that's going to be, I'm going to come to that just a little bit later, because that's part of my 5-step system of how to manifest. And it's a really, really important one, is to feel how your body is connecting. So I've been talking a little bit about action and creativity. I want to also just bring in the reality and I have a feeling the ones of us who are here at this seminar are not really in this boat, but there are many people and many clients that I have that are really stuck in inertia. They cannot move forward. And that has a lot to do with our history, our childhood trauma, for example. So we are, when somebody is like stuck in an energy and they can't move forward and they can't move through it, the first thing to notice is, do I even want to go forward with this? And give yourself a break. And that's what I call radical self-care, in that sense of the first and most primary and most important thing to do is to pause, is to stop. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. And if we have some time at the end, I was thinking about also sharing some methods for what I call sacred space cleaning, which is a little bit more on the the energetics, kind of spiritual things, working with drums and crystals and things. So, but in the meantime, let me share my screen, and I'm going to begin here. All right, so I'm basically, even though I said how to declutter your life, that image, that concept really was so big and unwieldy in my mind, because it also, as Stephanie and I were talking about last week, it also includes getting even toxic relationships out of your life. So I said, you know what, we gotta bring this down a little bit. And I really want to focus on how easy it is to get distracted and not be able to complete or to even begin to do what we're going to talk about today. So our plan is simplifying to transform. Declutter, simplify, and transform. So I want you to just take a moment, really make this real for you. So imagine your home already ordered. You could even close your eyes for a moment and just, like, what comes to your mind when you think of it's done, it's clean, it's finished, I've done the work? What does that look like and feel like in my own imagination in this moment? And if you're not muted, or if you want to unmute yourself, you could just share something if it comes to you, just one little thing, if you want to. Something just came up for me and I would like to share that. But if something came to your mind of what that ideal finished experience looks like to you, please share with us. And if
feels like relief.
Relief. Okay. Yeah. So something like a sigh in the body. It's like, And maybe even a smile comes to your face. Like, I did it. I am it. I did it. Yay. Yay for me. Yeah. Anything else?
I think I would have to agree, relief that you've gotten things accomplished that you wanted to do, but just took a long time getting to them.
Mm-hmm.
A certain sense of accomplishment as well.
Yeah. Beautiful. So what came to my mind is actually allowing allowing myself not to vacuum over the winter as much as I usually do. And my house was accumulating just in little places, but places that you start to realize like are bothersome, like the mantle, where I have a lot of tchotchkes there. I have a lot of things that are beautiful to me, but they do have to be moved to be cleaned. So I would say in general, dust. And we're actually in a window right now in Judaism. It's right before Passover, and it's like a really fun ritual that people do. They go about with, I mean, traditionally with a feather and a dustpan to get rid of all the crumbs in your house. And it's such a perfect time of year, actually, in Western hemisphere, because it's spring and it's really, about spring cleaning. So we're preparing ourselves for Passover. But in Passover, you're not allowed to have any bread in house. That's the whole point of it. Like, you can only eat the matzah. So that energy is starting to move in me to go, oh, I wonder if I have any crumbs in the house. And it in itself, just because we're supported by rituals from the things we love to do, our spiritual life, our community life, people that mean a lot to us and make a difference. They can actually inspire us to do the kind of work that we need to do. Otherwise, back to housework is soul work. We can really refine our understanding about our habits based on becoming more aware of how we're doing what we're doing. Okay, and now I want to just share with you, this actually comes, I think it's an Asian ritual, but there's an art of sweeping. And what we're really wishing for is the connection of the body and the mind together. So it's our whole self, our whole being, our whole balance and coordination. And what we're sweeping is what is no longer important to us or useful in our lives, what has long held us hostage. So you may be continuing to act on things that you don't even want to have in your life. And this becomes a key to becoming more simple, to simplifying and becoming like getting rid of what you no longer want to have in your life. And some of that is certain memories. So it's this is going to be like really specifically helpful when we choose a room or project to do for spring cleaning, because the reason why we're holding on to things that we cannot let go of is that they hold a lot of memory and hopefully joyful memories, but a lot of memory. And we're actually not, we're wishing to release them, the objects, but to hold the memory in our hearts. Okay, so now we want to just ask ourselves, we're still talking about stuck energy or not being able to sweep things clean, right? Is it physical? Is it emotional? Is it energetic? And I was just speaking about this. Does the article hold memories and history that you have not yet let go of? And this is really it's a truth about how our conscious psyches, that we actually hold more than 90, I've heard as much as 94% of our experiences in the subconscious mind. And that only 10% or less of our activities are focused on our conscious ability to make decisions and make change. So what we have to be able to do is find what it is in that subconscious that is keeping us in a habitual state. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about how the human brain actually works. There's an older part of our brain called the amygdala, and it is very trigger happy. Let's just say that. It's very quickly and easily reactive to danger. And it is in the danger, that feeling, that rush of energy and adrenaline that goes through our body that we're reacting to. So we're actually not meeting a stimulus in the moment where we can make a different decision or a new decision. I'm speaking from my extensive study and time with Alexander technique. This is the actual process that we're taking our clients through, that we're helping them to come back fully into their own body and to not stay up there in that anxiety of the mind, but that we can learn how not to go into fight, flight, or freeze, which are the three main ways that we respond to danger, which is hardwired for safety. And so then if we can find a way to pause that reaction, there's a little space between the stimulus and the response, which I call the gap. That moment of a new decision can be made, a change can be made. So we know that Alexander technique is a mind-body method to help with that process. And that's what I want to, even on a more into your space kind of way, like we can use that concept even as we're looking in our space. So I'm not sure what room you are in. I am in my big living room here. It's where my desk is and where I teach my sessions. And I just want you to just take a moment and, without doing anything, just let your gaze start to look around your room and notice where your eyes alight. So what is calling your attention? And if there's an object in your space that is like suddenly calling your attention, or a little area, and notice what comes to your mind and what comes to your body. So I'll begin by sharing. I have things over there on a shelf that need not be there. I have nail polish and moisturizing for the eyes and lotion. And I have Tibetan bells and a bunch of books, but it's all kind of smushed up together, right? In that space, ostensibly that I would maybe need to use any and all of those little, cosmetics at some point. But in that moment, I had a reaction. My reaction was, oh my God, that's so cluttered. I can't even believe it. And until I allowed myself the time to really be kind of objective almost, or detached to what it is, and allow my gaze to go somewhere, we start to realize that we have an attitude about what we see. And it could be a little tiny bit of anxiety that says, I need to do something there and I don't have the time. So the art, I'm calling it the art of cleaning up, but the art of cleaning up is really that, number one, you're intending to do it. That is that masculine energy we're talking about, and that you are able to bring your focus and that you're not being triggered by it. Okay, so that's where the fight, flight, and freeze comes in, is that we actually get triggered by it. And those of us who are really stuck, and I would go as far as to say hoarders in their space, not being able to get rid of anything, that tendency is more than likely to be about the anxiety that one feels, more than, oh, that's easy, I can just take the 2 bottles of fingernail polish up to where they belong in my bedroom. That would be an easy solution, but why don't we do it? And so what we're having to come up against is really the experience, the true experience, which is that there's something else working there. And that is your messy creativity. It's the area within our being that that is in the past and the future, much more than just awakening to the present and being able to affect change that way. Okay, so recently I listened to a lecture by a researcher from Harvard, and they were talking about how important the mindset is to that it actually is affecting our physiology, partially from the chemicals that go through the system. But that now I would define mindset as a positive mindset has to do with our feeling of accomplishment, self-esteem, ability, confidence, those kinds of things. And that we can bring all of that confidence to bear as we become more aware in the present moment, so that we can make decisions. And that is where you're going to be able to change your habits and be able to do something new. Sound good? Okay, so I wanted to just briefly talk about stress and overwhelm. What I've been talking about with overwhelm, what I've been talking about with fight, flight, or freeze is connected with overwhelm and not stress. So we do actually have good stress. If you're stimulated by something, if you have a deadline, for example, and if you have a need to truly get something done, a report that has to go in for work, or maybe, some people are coming to your space and you need to at least clean it up to enough to, to have them feel comfortable in your home. That's a good stress. So that you get motivated by that stress. The bad stress is when we don't have a handle on it. Okay, and that is a little bit more connected to overwhelm. So I would define overwhelm as when we have too much information swarming around us and we can't make clear decisions about what to do. So we don't do anything in general. And in this instance, as we bring our love and awareness to what it is that we're doing, this becomes a magical alchemical process. This becomes you being able to get the control back in your life. And I've already spoken about the RAS. It's called the reticular activating system. And that's the part of the brain that's hardwired to make things automatic, which is actually a good part of the how we humans manage stress, so that we don't have like everything and all and everything to deal with in our lives, but that we can really fine tune and focus. So it's, that automatic system is actually really helpful in a lot of ways. so that we can actually get things done. Okay. And just the last thing I'll say about that is that we can override that reactivity with resourcing ourselves within our environment. Resourcing is a word that comes out of trauma therapy, and that it's like a way of being able to anchor into your space so that you feel safe. That's the real idea here, is that you can bring yourself to rest on an object or a, kind of a flow of something that makes you feel good or feel comfortable in your room. Maybe how you've placed a few objects on an altar, or how you've stacked your books. That gives you an opportunity to really feel like you can be anchored and grounded within yourself. And from there, all good can happen. You're going to be working from a place of independence and clarity from there. So this is what we're going to specifically do today. I shared with you that I would give you my 5 steps for how to overcome overwhelm and get stuff done. So the first is to notice your resistance, and then stop and just breathe and notice where you feel it in your body. And then you can drop into consciousness and then baby step your way to action. So I love that that word baby step. There was an old movie, just remembering that movie right now. It was a relationship between a very neurotic person and his psychiatrist. And by the end of the movie, he baby stepped his way to being, thoroughly healed, I guess, in this movie. I wish I could remember who was in it, but it was really cute.
So Barbara Streisand, was it?
What's that?
Was Barbara Streisand one of the actors?
She could have been. The main, yes, and the main character was this man that I believe Barbara Streisand was trying to, help heal from his fear of
Yeah, I can't think of the name of it.
Being in the world. But that's where I first got the word baby step, that you don't want to just do all and everything. You want to, if you have made a choice to, say, clean your home, we have to start with one room, and that's already paring down or baby stepping. But then even so, if I were to choose my living room to do my decluttering and simplifying in order to transform my space and my energy, I may have to just take a corner of that room, depending on how complex my relationship is with the room. I spent most of the summer, no, I guess it was the fall, decluttering my computer of files and my file system. And at first I thought, oh, this hasn't been done in a while. I just need to do it now. But boy, oh boy, did I have to do this process, because I had a lot of resistance. And it seemed like such a big project that I didn't know how to manage it as I went along. Okay, so let's take each of these steps one at a time. Pay attention to what you are resisting. Your resistance is telling you something. Resistance is the doorway to freedom. Listen to the messages. And the first thing that you can say to yourself is, why don't I just want to get here and do this? And my answer to that is, we need to have a better relationship with time. Okay, we can have a better relationship with space, but we want to also have a different and better relationship to time. So some of us will be in resistance completely stuck and frozen. That's the fight, flight, or freeze. It's the freeze component of that that hardwired stimulus that we have. But other people will be rushing and overstimulated and overdoing. They're both overwhelmed. It's just how we are resisting, how it takes its form. So as you bring your own awareness to what it is that you're doing in relationship to cleaning, or let's call it decluttering, in relationship to decluttering your room, your home, you want to notice what your particular flavor is to that, and allow yourself the time to feel the resistance. And in this moment, we can pause. We can stop and just breathe. So it's not just pause and breathe, it's pause and breathe and feel grounded. Get yourself grounded. Okay, so you're feeling into your body, but you're also going, oh yeah, I have the ground under my feet. I'm good to go. I'm okay. I'm not off spinning in my mind somewhere. Deep breaths in and deep breaths out. Breathing in that pure possibility and breathing out the anxiety, the tension, both physically and emotionally. And breathe in and breathe out. And this is something that I do highly recommend that you do as a daily practice in the morning anyway, even if it's only 3 to 5 minutes, to give yourself time to do a breathing practice with the eyes open or closed, but that you're really listening to the rhythm of your breath and slowing your breathing down. This is a real key in yoga practice. People that do regular yoga, they're bringing the breath and the body together when they do the postures. So that is like really super helpful, and you'll feel more in your power as the weeks and months go by, just by doing that. But particularly when we begin to do something, when we have a project, taking that time to pause and breathe is really, really helpful. And now this third key, it may not be that familiar to us. And it's a very conscious moment after you started to breathe to ask yourself where you feel it. What is your body feeling right now, and where do you feel it? So if you're feeling anxious and you feel it in the heart energy, like right here in the center of the chest where your heart chakra is, that's information. And sometimes I will feel performance anxiety or some kind of anxiety. And there it is, right in the heart energy. But that may not be where it is for you personally. It could even be in your thighs, right? It could be up in the head center, kind of like a buzzing or a headachy feeling. Likewise, the numbing, which the numb and stuck energy, kind of the opposite side of the continuum. So what happens when you feel numb? Like, are you feeling frozen numb, or are you feeling lethargic numb? Let your body give you some answers in that moment. And if you notice these first 3 steps that we're doing, these keys, you haven't even picked up one piece of paper, right? You're just taking care of yourself in this moment. Okay, and now here's the time when you get yourself back in your empowerment. And it's a time where you can drop into consciousness. So we take in that moment now, because you've quieted things down and breathed, you can start to allow your imagination to bubble up. And this is very authentic because it's really what you want to do now. And I learned this little mantra actually from somebody who does, who teaches decluttering. And she offered this mantra. And so I'll share it with you in this moment as you drop in. Say to yourself, I am here. I am now. I accept. I allow. I am here. I am now. I accept. I allow. Which becomes very, very empowering. And we're all about taking our power back, getting some ground underneath our feet so that we can become more aware of what we're wishing for and to make that so. And the last one is make a choice. And we've done the first 4 steps just to open our spaciousness. And it is in that spaciousness that we can make a choice as to how and what I want to deal with, to allow for something new and surprising to take the place of inertia or resistance. And we can start small and we can choose. So in these last few minutes of our time together, I want to do an exercise with you. And this is an exercise that you will take away from exercise. You'll take away from our class and then hopefully do this action over the weekend sometime when you have time, when you have space and when you have time. So again, let's close eyes. Let's close your eyes and notice whatever's coming up in your body. Allow yourself to breathe and connect. If your feet are not on the floor, bring your feet to the floor so you really feel those feet anchoring. Like there's a beautiful glistening root system going from the bottom of your feet into the center of the earth. This is a process of coming very, very full and still within your own being, connecting to Mama Earth, Mother Gaia, knowing that we are resourced and that our source is the earth and that we belong here. Take your time, breathe in deeply. Breathe out and release whatever is no longer needed or useful to you in this moment. This is where and how we're doing the energy healing, the alchemical work. And as things still, you can imagine like sand going through an hourglass, just time on your side, going down, down. Maybe if that sand comes out, if that sand comes out, you can turn the hourglass around and bring that place, that wholeness, that stillness that you hold within you. And then from that place, we're going to just envision having one room, one place this weekend, this beginning of spring, to make our own, to make our project. I will give you a few ideas. Is it your living room? Is it your kitchen? Is it the spice racks in your kitchen? If you feel overwhelmed by being in a space, ask yourself, can I make this smaller? Can I take a baby step today and make this even simpler so that I'm moving towards something that I truly want to do based on how I am being, that I'm moving towards becoming more enlivened by this project and not overwhelmed by it. And just to remember that when we are in a space of holding on to things, it's because they are holding meaning. They're holding memory and meaning for us, but we can choose how to recollect, how to remember. We bring our space of remembering, which brings us more fully in control of what it is that we want to do. And then lastly, ask yourself, how does it get any better than this? And you know the answer to that. All right. I'm going to stop my share and welcome Kathy. And just to finish, if there's anything that's come up for you in our time together that you would like to ask a question about or bring a little bit more, lucidity and meaning to, please share with me. And if nothing comes to your mind, that's fine too. It's just such a big topic, how we are dealing with our space, because this is our life. Once again, as you look around, everything that is in your space, you have brought to you in a loving way at some point. And we just simply want to ask if we still want to bring it there, bring it to the fore in order to release and let go. Yeah. I didn't, in our little meditation, one thing I didn't talk about was your closets. And spring cleaning is often a time of cleaning out either your basement, your garage, or your closets. And when it comes to closets, sometimes I think getting rid of books are high up there on my list too, but books and clothing are really, really hard to let go of, because we have this thought that we're going to go back to where we were. I'm going to go back and reread that book I bought in 1980, about tarot or something. I'm seeing Kathy here, and I'm remembering that we did tarot readings together. But, they're still my tarot books. I'm not getting rid of them. But, closets are kind of the same thing. We expect our body to be the same as it was, 20 or 30 years ago. So we won't let go of those clothes, even though, time really has moved on. And when you let go of something, this is really, really a big truth. When you let go of something, you're creating a vacuum, you're creating space. And that space becomes sacred to allow something new to come into your life. So our ability to allow the new to come into our life is really about that first thing that we talked about today, which was our awareness of becoming more aware. And then in that, in the awareness is the alchemy, that we can really be magicians and priestesses in our own life mastery. And everything becomes a miracle. Everything becomes magical if we shift our perception in that way. Bonnie, did you want to share anything?
I have found, as you know, I've been working on my basement. And, everything down there, like you said, is something that I put there. And really did find it hard to get rid of, really found it hard to get started. And I still have clothes hanging from when I worked, and I haven't worked in 7.5 years, but I made some of those things. So, it's hard to let that go, even though I know they don't fit, and more likely than not, I haven't worn them in 7.5 years, and I probably won't wear them in the next 7.5 years. So you've kind of touched on things that I'm experiencing right now in terms of, letting go of things. And hopefully I don't bring too much new in, because I don't want to reclutter the spaces that I've emptied.
Mm-hmm. And what you're valuing is the open space. So that may be where you have shifted in your own, being. What brings joy to you is clear space. And I would say the same is true for me at this point in my life. I have a very different relationship to things than I did, 20, 30 years ago. I think I was still in the process of accumulating things. That a little bit, this is not the case with clothing. I think we do express ourselves with clothing, in real time, and that the desire to buy something new that is reflecting how you are, or jewelry, right?
Yes, we do like that. I don't have any on today.
Yeah. So, I just want to really underscore what the activity that you've already taken on to go down into your basement and to declutter. And it reminds me of, I had this conversation with my brother this summer when I was talking about how much I wanted to go through a process of decluttering my home. And I started with my desk and my computer and everything. And I said, but it's really hard to let go of things in my basement, because I've attended so many webinars and workshops over the last 10, 15 years, and I handwrite my notes. It's just something that I've always done. And I put them in a hanging file. So, this is something that I'm very good at, filing papers. It's like a huge, I don't know what the word is, but, something in a box that, if we have anybody that is listening to the recording of this call too, if you have trouble letting go of things, you want to really look at what they are. What my brother said is, oh, that's different. If you hand wrote all those notes, those are things to keep, because it's part of your soul signature. It's part of who you are. So I was, he kind of gave me license to keep, many, I'm not talking about one or two, I'm talking about many, many plastic files with hanging files with handwritten notes in them, that is really an expression too of our soul signature. And we want to discern, like, what do I actually want to throw away because it's no longer useful, or to recycle, or to give away. Those are three different categories of what you can do. Right. If you want to give away your clothing, your old clothes, that somebody's going to love it, because they're going to choose it if it goes to, Goodwill or, one of the charities that you choose to send your clothes to. And then your handmade things are your, that's your expression, your beauty and your, something that came out of your own artistry and heart. So you might want to keep those forever. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't decided yet. Yeah, I've let some of it go, but not all of it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, it's getting on time. So I just so appreciate you being here and, sharing this, this study with me. It's obviously such a big study that it's ongoing, and hopefully that, we found something useful for, to work with or to think about in the next few weeks as we do our spring cleaning. Yeah.
And summer cleaning and fall cleaning and
Right.
winter cleaning.
It'll move from
It's
spring to summer.
ongoing. Yeah, right, ongoing.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, and I just welcome anyone who's watching this video to, if you haven't already, to join my Facebook group. It's called Healing into Abundance Inner Circle. And I will repost this on in my Facebook group if you want to see it or to review it again. So in the
Okay, well, thank you.
meantime, you're so welcome.
Talk
Take
to you
care,
soon.
everyone. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.